Tonight you're going to open a fridge. You won't think about it. You'll grab something wrapped in plastic, heat it in a box that uses invisible waves, and eat it standing up in under 2 minutes. That feels normal. It feels like how humans have always eaten. But the real answer is far stranger. For almost your entire history as a species, there was no fridge. There was no bag of chips. There was no guaranteed meal at all. Your body was not built for convenience. It was built for scarcity. And what you actually ate for hundreds of thousands of years would look almost nothing like what's on your plate tonight. Start with a simple question. What did a hunter-gatherer eat on a normal Tuesday? Not a mammoth steak. That's the image most people carry around thanks to cartoons and museum dioramas. Big kill, big fire, big feast. But anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who has spent decades studying the origins of human diet, found something different. Most calories, most days, did not come from meat at all. They came from digging. Roots, tubers, underground starches that had to be pried out of the earth with a sharpened stick, unglamorous, repetitive, essential. Here's the strange part. Those roots were often too tough to eat raw. Your ancestors' jaws and guts weren't strong enough to break them down efficiently. So something had to change first. Fire. Wrangham's cooking hypothesis argues that the control of fire and the shift to cooked food may be one of the single most important turning points in human evolution. Cooking softens fiber. It unlocks starches. It means your gut doesn't have to work as hard to extract energy. Less energy spent digesting means more energy available elsewhere, like, say, growing a bigger brain. Think about that for a second. The instant your ancestors learned to cook a root over a flame, they weren't just making dinner. They were quietly rewiring their own biology. But cooking didn't replace foraging. It sat on top of it. And foraging was relentless. Primatologist Catherine Milton spent years comparing the diets of wild primates to early human ancestors, and her research points to something counterintuitive. The width of your diet, the sheer number of different plants, insects, roots, fruits, and small animals a hunter-gatherer might eat across a single year could reach into the hundreds, not dozens, hundreds. Compare that to you. Walk into an average grocery store, and most of what fills the shelves traces back to a small handful of crops. Corn, wheat, soy, rice, different packaging. Same handful of plants over and over. Your ancestors never had that luxury. And that lack of luxury built something into you that's still there today. Why does a small child instinctively refuse a new vegetable but happily eat the same 3 snacks every day? Why do you crave variety on a menu, even when you're not particularly hungry? Some researchers link this to what's sometimes called dietary generalism. When food is unpredictable, when a drought or a bad season can wipe out one entire source, survival favors a brain that's curious about new foods, but cautious about eating too much of any single one. That tension, curiosity, mixed with caution, still shapes how you approach a menu you've never seen before. Now picture the meat. Because it did matter. It just wasn't constant. Anthropologist Sarah Hrdy, who has written extensively on the social structures behind early human survival, points out that a big kill wasn't really about calories alone. It was about the group. Meat from a large animal couldn't be eaten fast enough by one person or one family before it spoiled. So it got shared, widely, immediately. That single fact changes everything about how you should picture prehistoric eating. It wasn't hoarding, it was distribution. A successful hunt rippled outward through an entire band, creating obligations, alliances, and a kind of insurance system. You feed me today, I feed you next month when I'm the lucky one. Feasting, in other words, wasn't indulgence, it was strategy. And in between those feasts, long stretches of very little. Weeks where the only reliable food was whatever could be dug up, picked, or scavenged. Your ancestors' bodies evolved inside that rhythm. Feast, then famine, abundance, then scarcity. Over and over, for a time scale so long it's difficult to picture. Millions of years of feast-famine cycling shaped how your body stores fat, regulates hunger, and responds to sugar. Here's the twist most people never connect. Your body still expects that rhythm. It was built for unpredictable scarcity. What it got over the last 100 years or so is permanent abundance. That mismatch isn't a personal failure. It's a timing problem. The environment changed in a single blink of evolutionary time. Your biology didn't get the memo. There's another piece of the ancient diet that rarely makes it into the popular picture. Insects, grubs, small reptiles, whatever was calorie-dense and within reach. Squeamishness about these foods is largely cultural, not biological. In many parts of the world, insects remain a normal, nutrient-rich part of the diet today, a living echo of a much older habit that never actually disappeared. It just got edited out of certain cultures' menus. So what does all of this add up to? Not a single ancient diet. That's the biggest myth of all. There was no one meal plan shared by every hunter-gatherer on Earth. A band near the coast ate differently than a band in the mountains. A group in a lush river valley ate differently than one on the edge of a desert. Human diets were regional, seasonal, and constantly adjusting. What stayed consistent wasn't the specific food, it was the pattern. Wide variety, physical effort to obtain it, long gaps between reliable meals, shared abundance when it appeared. None of that describes a fridge stocked every week with the same brands, in the same aisles, requiring almost no effort and almost no thought. So the next time you stand in front of that fridge, deciding between two nearly identical snacks, consider what's actually happening underneath. A digging brain built for scarcity, staring into a wall of permanent plenty, a body still bracing for a famine that, for most of you, will never come. You open a fridge tonight, you won't think about it. But underneath that easy, thoughtless motion is a body still running on rules written for a world that no longer exists.